Welcome back. When I tried to do a test for this project before, I had an issue. And that's when I realized that actually Expo 2023 changed with everything because it kept on indicating to me in the console, but I wouldn't try to figure out until I clicked on the link or typed the link that was being shared with me by the Expo SDK itself. Now, before we do that, I need to take you through how to install. So the first thing you need to do is turn on React Native. So React Native in the search. So React Native in the search. Right. Okay. So React Native. All right, I've typed the wrong thing. And then one of the other things you need to do, I've right-clicked, then opened another tab. One of the other things you need to do, in fact, the first thing you need to install Node.js. Okay, so you go ahead and download Node.js. You make sure you download the latest SDK. We won't keep with the people with old SDKs. So we are going to be using 18.16.1. All right, so if I come here and type and do search my terminal, so I'm going to type terminal. All right, I'll try to widen and type node. Okay, is my terminal ready? Node. Right, so node dash dash version. There we go. I must have installed 18.16.1, and that's the version that I have here. Okay, that is it. So we go, you download and install that version of Node.js. So we're going to go to the React Native documentation. I'll zoom in. All right, so we're going to choose getting started, and React Native is, as long as you know some bit of JavaScript and you know some bit of CSS. The biggest thing of React Native or any Android or iOS development is understanding the UI. Most of the things you already know Java, you already know maybe Kotlin, you already know what is it with the X tools? why am I forgetting for the iOS? All right, so we're going to go to getting started. And those who are going to do React Native CLI, you click on React Native CLI. In fact, before you click on Expo Go, make sure you can install the React Native CLI, because Expo runs on top of React Native CLI, and you read through the documentation and make sure you set up everything for you. So for development with Mac OS, Windows, Linux, so it automatically detected that I'm using a Windows machine and I'm going to be using Android. So you install the dependencies, which is Node. We have installed Node, React Native command user interface with the JDK, and then a JDK, and then Android Studio. All right, so you can install, after installing that, you make sure you install Chocolate. So Chocolate, you can copy this and then type in your terminal, and then you install Chocolate. Then, because I don't want to go through the process, Chocolate may take you even 45 minutes. Those of you who have installed Python already, you must have installed Chocolate. So you install Android Studio, you install the SDKs of Android Studio, then you create a project. Then you set up the environment variables to point to that, because I don't need to launch Android Studio. I will only be launching the AVD. So I don't need to launch Android Studio and run the AVD once I set up the environment directory. Well, read through this. It is straightforward for you. Okay, so the moment you're done, okay, this is creating a new application. The moment you're done with the setting that up, you can go ahead and create a new React application, and if it does that very well, then you're good to go. So you do with a React Native latest init or some project. All right, so one mistake you may do if things don't add up is because using the old SDK. Make sure you with the documentation of next. Okay, so that is what was happening with me with Expo, because the Expo team explains it on their blog here that now everything has changed. Okay, everything has changed with Expo. All right, so Expo now has a router. Expo now has a router, router version 2. It does async routes. Okay, Expo has its good styling now. You can install with a template like this, but we are not going to use that. Okay, and now Expo comes in shipped. Okay, comes in shipped with the Expo SDK that is with React Native. So you no longer need to install Expo alone, and the version that you have of Expo is what will be done bundled unless you install another version of the project. So these things of having Expo warnings about the errors and whatsoever is to come, all those are gone. So if you to install, you're going to have to come to your React Native and then you choose Expo, go start. Make sure you are in next, not 7.2, okay? So we're going to create Expo this time around. Instead of npm, we're going to be creating with npx Expo app and then our project. So I'll copy this and then go to my www folder. I'll run the terminal in my www folder. Then paste. Okay, so instead of awesome project, we're going to call ours Afifam app. Afifam app Expo. I usually add the word Expo so that okay. I usually add the word Expo so that I know that this is an Expo project and not the pure React project. So I'll press enter and then the project is going to be installing for us. Remember, it is using npx. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and then resume when the project has fully installed. Well, our installation is done and you can leave what npm run Android or okay, let's try and let's do a cd into the project and then we run npm run Android and we see what we have. Okay, so I'll cd to Afifam app Expo and then do npm run Android and we see what we get. And this usually occurs, so go ahead and check. Okay, so you can see it says it took long because the screen was just starting. I run the SDK again and see what we get this time. Because now the AVD has started, let's see if it will install Expo this time for us. And if it doesn't, then we shall go with what we had before from the document. All right, so I'm supposed to press A. So it is loading the project for me. I'm surprised this still works, but I will still use MPX Expo Start. If it loads very well, well and good. All right, so our project has started. I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and then we run with NPX Expo Start. Okay, so it guides us, the application guides us. Open app to start working on your app. Oh my God. So he's talking about app.js, and I'm going to show it to you. Okay. So what I've done, I've started up Visual Studio. Okay. All right, so let me bring Visual Studio. And then I go to app.js. All right, so this is app.js. And then you can see the same text, open app.js to start working with your project. I can replace it with our project name, which is Afifam. And the moment I save, it will update straight away. So there is an auto refresh, and you can see it has updated straight away. And that is the good thing now that we have. On this side, we'll be having our code. On this side, we shall be having our application, and the changes will be updating there and then as we see them. So let's meet in the other video. Hope you can set up your project like me. Let's meet in the second video. If you don't have Node.js updated, it will be warning you about the SDK. Kindly do update to the same.